All right, so let's say that we've got our vaginal floor closed here with our running interlocking, and we've gone relatively superficial through mucosa, and now we get to this point and we go to feel our integrity, and we find that we've actually got quite a gap under here. So we were a little bit too superficial. We've got kind of that little cave, that little defect that goes back under vaginal mucosa, and we don't really want to leave that. This would be time here for our transition stitch and then our crown. Again, the yellow here being the bulbocavernosus, bulbospongiosis, just at the superior aspect of the perineal body. So what are we going to do about this defect? We could take out our running interlocking and redo it, but that's less than ideal. So what we're going to do is to get a separate suture, and here I'm going to use, again, this 2.0 on the SH, which is smaller than what we would normally use as far as the needle, but I think a 2.0 Vicryl would be fine here. And we're going to do an interrupted to get back and close the space. And depending on how deep this is, you might even have to loosen up a little bit of these. What I try to do is to come in and throw this suture so that the needle is kind of parallel to the floor of the vagina. And what I'm trying to do is to come in and then out here. You can just see in the midline. And we're going to take this in 2 bites. You can do multiple of these even further back up towards the apex of the vaginal mucosa defect, but we're just going to do kind of one here just to demonstrate. So again, the needle itself kind of parallel to the floor of the vagina, and we're going to come in and kind of come out here. So now with this interrupted, and when we come to tie this, and we're just going to do a couple of quick throws here. It looks like that pulled through there. So now that we've thrown that suture, we've closed off this space here. So now we can come back up to our 3.0 and do our transition. So we transition from vaginal mucosa to perineal body. And then we're going to do our crown stitch. So we're going to really come up and get a good bite through that bulbospongiosis, bulbocavernosus. We're going to come out in the middle for that. So you can see where I came out on the bottom here, so I'm going to go in on the bottom. So this creates kind of a circle of closure. So you can see how that brings those 2 sides together. And now we'd be ready to transition to our perineal body closure. If this is a relatively shallow defect in the perineal body, I tend to do these in a kind of vertical mattress sort of way. So again, what I'm doing with the needle is that it's coming parallel to the skin edge and poking in a quick turn of the wrist. You can see that I've kind of backed up a bit or doubled up on this. When we think about doing subcuticular closures or subcutaneous closures, we usually come kind of straight across from where our suture came out. But sometimes when I'm doing something more for kind of bulking up, building up the perineal body, I'll backtrack a little bit so that I get a little bit of overlap there. And then we just continue to come down in this kind of vertical. And you don't want to get too close to the skin because then it'll pucker up, and we want to leave room for when we're coming back up for our kind of subcuticular closure, like that. So now let's back this out a bit. We're just going to end up kind of tearing these through. All right, so we did our transition, we did our crown stitch. But now let's say we've got a very deep defect in the perineal body. And if we come up here and do that horizontal mattress sort of closure. We're going to leave all of this space here uncovered. So in this case, what I do is switch to my smaller needle driver. I do a more vertical closure. So we go, now the needle is perpendicular to the skin edge. So we pop in here, come out down deep, and then match that up, go in deep, and come out kind of close to skin edge here. I traveled quite a bit for that, but just to demonstrate how we decide to do either that horizontal or vertical. And again here, we go in, come out down deep. This one's a little bit angled. This is a little bit oblique. It's not perfectly vertical, but it's not horizontal either. So again, in deep here, out closer to skin edge, like that. So that we're closing off the deep part. And then again, when we're ready, we would come and pop out just at the apex here. And then we're ready to transition to our subcuticular closure of perineal skin. And again, you can kind of swing around and forehand these, or you can backhand them. I do that both ways, just kind of depending on the anatomy. And again here, we would go in kind of straight across, or you can back it up, backtrack just a little bit. We're not quite as worried about little folds in the skin here. And then we're going to be ready for kind of our last little through and through. Since I came out here on the patient's left side, I'm just going to come across and kind of backhand this through for our little last through and through. And then we would tie that off.